Welcome to this 15-minute morning yoga flow. Let's begin by finding mountain pose, feet hip-width apart. Rooting down through all four corners of your feet, feeling the earth beneath you. Softening your shoulders, lengthen through the spine. Arms relaxed at your sides. I invite you to close your eyes or soften your gaze. Take a deep breath in and a slow breath out. Arrive fully here in your body, in this moment. Taking another deep breath here as you prepare for movement. And slowly letting that breath out. We'll begin with some circular motion, so either hands at your sides or to the hips for stability, and circling that right foot in one direction 4 times, and then switching and circling it 4 times in the opposite direction, and then switching over to the left foot 4 times in one direction, and 4 times in the other direction. And maybe widening your stance here as we come into hip circles. So once again, moving 4 times in one direction and then 4 times in the opposite direction. And stabilizing the body and then circling just the chest here. Once again, 4 times in one direction and then alternating. Really isolating that upper body, the chest and the ribs moving, all the rest of the body is stable. And then bringing fingertips to shoulders and circling those arms back 4 times in one direction and then alternating here. If you can, bringing elbows to touch in front of the body as you circle those arms. Releasing the hands and then circling the head and neck 4 times in one direction and then alternating at your pace. Maybe taking half circles or full circles depending on how that feels through the head and neck. Softening your knees slightly, letting arms relax by your sides, and then begin to gently twist from the waist, letting the arms swing freely from side to side like a pendulum, maybe allowing the arms to hit the sides as you twist, allowing this movement to be fluid and natural. So maybe it's faster or slower. As you come back through center, heel toe the feet closer apart, either hip distance or touching, mountain pose. Taking a full breath in here and letting that go. Inhale, reaching arms to the sky, and exhale, folding forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, circling arms up and around, pressing through those feet. Exhale, palms together to heart center. Releasing the hands, inhale, overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale as you find flat back, chest open to the mat. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, circling those arms overhead. Exhale, hands through heart center. And continue with this flow here, moving at the pace of your own breath. So maybe you want to speed it up, maybe you want to slow it down. As you're ready, finding mountain pose. And when you arrive to mountain pose, stepping the right foot back to find warrior 1. So that back foot at a 45-degree angle. The feet are on 2 separate planes here. Squaring the hips to the top of the mat. Maybe inhale, arms overhead. Drawing shoulders down the back body. Bending through that front knee. Taking a deep inhale. And as you let that go, hands together to heart center, hinging forward, and then stepping right foot forward to meet the left and stepping back, alternating here. Balancing on that left leg, knee is bent. The next time you step back, finding yourself in crescent pose. So keeping back toes tucked under, front leg and knee bent, arms reaching to the sky. Sinking deep into your lunge. If you'd like, finding a gentle bounce, engaging the muscles to activate this movement. And then as you're ready, shifting that back foot parallel to the mat, finding your warrior two. Stacking shoulders over hips, engaging both legs, pressing them to opposite sides of the mat. And then begin to create a movement through the waist as you lean slightly forward and back, reaching with those fingertips. The movement is engaged from the center. And finding stillness once again. Releasing hands to the hips and rotating to face the long ways of your mat, bending both knees, coming to goddess pose, arms at 90 degrees. Maybe holding it here once again, maybe finding a bounce. Maybe holding it a little bit lower. Releasing hands to your hips as you extend the legs, finding warrior two facing the opposite side of your mat, and going through the sequence backwards. So keeping the legs stable as you initiate that movement forwards and back from the core, the sides of the body. Finding yourself stabilized here. And then windmilling the arms forward, coming to crescent lunge, tucking back toes under, bending through that front knee, maybe finding that bounce. On an exhale, hands coming through heart center, slightly hinging forward, and then finding that movement as you step forward and back, balancing on the right leg this time. The next time you step back, planting that back foot, finding your warrior one. Feet are on two separate planes. Arms reaching to the sky. Bending that front knee back, leg extended. Taking a full breath in. And slowly letting that go. Hands coming through heart center and facing the long ways on your mat once again, toes pointed out, heels in, finding goddess pose, arms at 90 degrees. Maybe finding your bounce here, up and down. Maybe sinking deeper into that goddess pose. Hands coming to the hips, extending the legs. Toes still pointed out, and then begin to lunge from one side to the other. Doing this 2 times on each side. And then on the third time, maybe sinking down into your skandasana pose. Making any adjustments you might need to here today, maybe hands together at heart center, hands to the mat for stability. As you're ready, walking hands over to the opposite side of the mat, taking skandasana pose on the opposite side. Notice how one side may feel completely different than the other, making any modifications necessary. Walking the hands towards center of the mat, extending the legs, toes facing slightly in, heels out, finding your forward fold as you exhale, crown of the head coming towards the mat. Breathing into the back body. Pressing through the feet and the palms as you inhale, find a flat back. walking hands to the top of the mat. And heel toe that front foot over to the side, stepping all the way forward, yogi squat. Maybe hands coming together to heart center. Imagine that pelvis becoming heavy as you lift the chest forward. Breathing deep into the belly. And slowly release here, finding yourself on your mat, preparing for boat pose. So maybe the legs are bent, coming up to about 90 degrees. Maybe the legs are extended. Arms by your sides, or maybe reaching overhead. Moving with the breath, hollowing it out, hovering here and coming back to boat. Alternating with the breath, engaging the core as you go from hollow to boat. Holding it in boat for one more breath. And releasing those feet down, crossing the arms, letting the forehead rest on the forearms, rounding through the back body. Allowing the breath to even out. As you're ready, extending the legs out long, releasing any fleshy bits from your sides, and bending the right knee in, crossing that foot over the left leg. Inhale the left arm up, and exhale as you twist to the right. Looking over that back shoulder, flexing the left foot. Breathing into the twist. And an inhale, returning back to center, and then drawing that left leg in, opening up through the right hip, opening chest towards the shin, flexing that right foot to protect the knee. To release, extending the legs long, and then rolling the feet side to side. Notice how that feels in the heels, to roll them out. As you're ready, this time bending left leg in, crossing the foot over the right leg. Inhale, right arm up. Exhale, twisting to the left, looking over that shoulder. Breathing into the twist. Flexing the right foot. Coming back through center into that hip stretch, bending the right knee in, flexing left foot, opening the chest towards the shin. If you need to, walking that right foot out further to keep the spine long. To release, extending the legs once again and rocking those feet side to side, massaging out the heels. Making your way into a comfortable seated position to close this practice. If you'd prefer, coming to lay down on your back. Finding that space, allowing the eyes to soften or shut. Bringing awareness to the breath. And noticing the natural rhythm of the breath as you inhale and exhale. Maybe taking a moment to thank yourself for showing up to the mat today. And know that in this stillness, you are exactly where you need to be. Let go of any expectations for the day ahead. And rest in this moment. Taking one more deep breath in. And a slow breath out. When you're ready, inhaling arms overhead and exhaling hands through heart center. Namaste.